Fresh out of prison, retired bank robber Mark Hammond awakens to the sound of a gunshot. Outside, he finds his wife lying in the street, bleeding to death. Her haunting last words, "Get our boy back. You get our boy." Mark erupts in a scream of rage as he gives chase. And thus begins your bloody mess of a journey through The Getaway, one of the most adult video games ever made. Chasing after the kidnappers, I immediately notice the stiffness of the driving mechanics. As I navigate tight corners at high speeds, my wheels lose grip, and I struggle to regain control of the vehicle. This wasn't me pulling the handbrake to drift the car. This was the tyres naturally losing their grip on the road. These aren't supercars. They're average everyday vehicles involved in a tense chase through dense city traffic. Your focus is demanded. Every twitch of your joystick matters. Even one minor collision can cause engine damage that will affect your car's performance and cause the vehicle to deteriorate until it eventually shuts down or even catches fire, but that won't stop you. Thinking quickly, you hijack the next closest vehicle and get back in the chase. What's special about this game is from the very start, you're given such extreme motivation. Save your child from a pack of deranged killers. Given this motivation, any reasonable person would stop at nothing. You'll find the car stopped outside a mysterious depot. With no time to spare, you go in guns blazing, getting your first taste of the Getaway's unique gunplay mechanics. This game abandons traditional skill-based aiming mechanics for something more primal. Holding R1 immediately takes aim at the nearest target. Your accuracy mostly comes down to distance, and your effectiveness mostly comes down to how many bullets you're able to send downrange. There's something satisfying about the way the blood splatters across the walls. You're literally painting the walls red, an artistic expression of your pain and anger. You'll also notice that as you get hit, you don't simply keep walking. Your clothes become bloodied, and your movement slows to a miserable, desperate limp. I drag my bullet-riddled character through this gunfight and into the next cutscene. Here, we're given the simplest and most awesome narrative setup to a crime game ever. These bad guys have a full day of crime planned out for you. You're gonna go where they tell you to go and commit the heinous crimes they tell you to commit.
You're late, or you let me down. Your kid dies. Do I make myself clear?
First order of business, go to a restaurant owned by your old partners in crime and burn it down. Venturing out into London on your own, you'll notice the game's immersive navigation system. Keep in mind, this game came out in a time when GPS systems were not readily common. So you're given no map and no clear directions. The only cues on where to go are the turn indicators on your car. Never knowing exactly where you are or where you're going makes the city feel large and intimidating. And this world will adapt to the narrative as it unfolds. There are now police roadblocks set up as the cops investigate the chase and reports of gunfire from the previous mission. My modern Grand Theft Auto brain actually forgot that the police will pull you over for speeding in this game. However, they don't respond aggressively to non-violent crimes, so I was able to pretty easily lose them by weaving through bridge traffic. This is it, the Republic.
No way, Emmett, you better leave.
The bouncer recognizes you and advises you to go home, but there's no stopping you. You take him hostage, which causes the subsequent targets to hold their fire, giving you the upper hand. You shoot your way through the restaurant until a few stray bullets knock over some candles, igniting a blaze. By the time you make it downstairs, first responders have arrived. This is your first violent confrontation with police. You shoot your way to the nearest car and escape the area. You've killed cops. There's no going back now. Johnson calls to congratulate you and give you your next target. He wants you to steal a piece of artwork from a museum. As you head towards the museum, it becomes clear that the cops aren't the only ones after you now. Silver Lexuses pull alongside you in traffic and spray AK-47 fire, leading to some hectic and narrow escapes. You reach the museum and go in guns blazing. The Triad gang that operates the museum does their best to fend you off, with civilians getting caught in the crossfire.
I hope you're worth it.
After locating and stealing the art piece, the game sets you up for your escape. Not by putting you in some high-performance sports car. Instead, you're given an ordinary Volvo station wagon to make your getaway in. The stakes have been raised again. You now have the cops and two separate gangs desperate to catch and kill you. If you're lucky, you'll manage to turn them against each other, providing you a better chance to slip away. Chapter 4. You rendezvous with Johnson and his henchmen at a pub. Your next task is the one I find to be the most exciting. You'll be taking part in a jailbreak. You intercept a prison transit van. As another vehicle rams the convoy and speeds off as a distraction, you'll chase down and ram the prisoner transport vehicle until it flips over.
This is too easy.
You watch through the car windshield as your accomplice brutally murders the cops inside and freeing the prisoner. Now the police chase AI will start to get pretty aggressive. But even then, you can foil it in ways that feel logical. Once we make it back to the hideout, we get to see one of the most upsetting video game cutscenes of all time. There's a certain quality to this game that makes you feel like you shouldn't be allowed to play it. Being left alone for the moment, you'll take the opportunity to sneak around and try to find your son. I obviously love this game, but it is at its absolute worst during these stealth missions.
Nice one. I haven't had a drink in days.
There's too many of them.
You don't find your son, but you do find a map in Johnson's office that hints at Johnson's larger plan.
I'm running out of time.
Once you're discovered, you're given a suicide mission. They duct tape the dead torture victim to the passenger seat of a Honda Accord and task you with dumping it outside the Triad's HQ to infuriate the gang, then leading them to the turf of a rival gang, the Yardies. Upon entering the Yardie compound, you can immediately hide behind a container and watch most of the battle play out. Once things quiet down, you'll execute the stragglers.
Come on, maggot.
A full-scale gang war has just been ignited. Your next mission is the most brazen in the game. Walk right into a police station and shoot the captain and a witness being held in interrogation. You disguise yourself as a phone repairman to get inside.
About time someone did something about those phones. This way, please.
You sneak your way into the evidence room to nab a gun for the job. Once you cross paths with the captain, you'll follow him until the moment feels right. The tension of this mission is perfectly stated with Mark's nervous breathing. You'll fill him with bullets as he enters the interrogation room. But just as you're about to execute the witness, she offers her inside knowledge and her skills as a hitman to help you get your son back. Meanwhile, SWAT has been outside gearing up for entry. You team up with the girl and fight your way out of the police station.
Unlucky, eh? How you feeling now?
You're back on the streets, but this time with a sidekick. The plan: Yasmin disguises herself as Charlie's favourite call girl to gain access to his home in order to take him out. Meanwhile, Mark is sent on one last mission to steal a duffel bag filled with cash. At this point, traversing London is an absolute battle as you're hunted by 3 separate gangs and the cops are now on the lookout for you by name. You drop off Yasmin at Charlie's apartment and make your way across town to a Yardie crime den where the bag of cash is being kept. The tight quarters of this firefight, combined with the diegetic hip-hop music, make it a really fun and intense mission.
Give me the cash and I'll go.
Once the gunfire concludes, Mark has a reflective moment as he reaches the cash and hatches another plan.
So this is what everyone's been dying for.
Instead of bringing Charlie the cash, he stashes it to help with him and his son's inevitable escape from the city. You bring Charlie and his gang a dummy bag and take your chance at killing them and ending all this madness.
How you feeling now?
But ultimately, it ends with you back in captivity. Charlie finally reveals his endgame, using you to lure each of his rival gang leaders into one location that he'll have rigged to blow.
The bad boy that's burned up half of London.
I saw your kid. He was okay. He'd been crying, but apart from that, he was all right.
Are you two just going to sit there feeling sorry for yourselves, or do you want to stop that little Hitler?
Enter Detective Carter, a rogue cop who's been on your trail. He frees you and agrees to help rescue your son and take Charlie down. You and Yasmin gunsling your way out of Charlie's compound and head back to Charlie's house to rescue your son. On the drive there, you'll likely be forced to swap vehicles several times. Each stop turned into a chaotic Heat-style street battle. You creep your way through Charlie's luxury home, carefully sidestepping high-tech security. This is actually really tedious and another one of the few weak missions in this game. And of course, you're just too late as the bad guys speed off with your son.
Ah! Fuck!
Your only option left is to get to the meeting site before Charlie detonates his bomb. You race to the meeting, a cargo ship, and find it's already become a war zone between all the gangs. With the gangs all preoccupied fighting each other, it's easy to sneak inside. Once inside, though, you face the toughest fight in the game, as nearly every one of the numerous enemies you encounter carries either an AK or shotgun.
Fucking muppet.
Alex!
Dad, I thought you were dead!
Finally, you make it to your son. But before you're able to take off, the crime bosses all descend on you, anxious for blood. They decide to hear you out and give you just enough sympathy to let you leave.
All it's ever been about is the boy.
Now get the fuck out of here and don't let me ever see your face in this town again. Do you hear?
You walk off into the sunset as the ship, full of all your problems, explodes behind you. A perfect ending. But instead of rolling credits, you're given one of the best narrative twists in gaming history. Continue as Detective Carter. The game rewinds back to the start of the day, but this time you play as Carter, the cop. Carter starts his day by raiding a sleazy brothel. This mission is especially chaotic as enemies blow through dilapidated walls with shotguns, so no corridor ever feels safe.
Out of our way, Carter, the professionals are here.
Heavily armed backup eventually arrives and helps you conclude the raid by arresting Jake Johnson, the lunatic you broke out of police custody earlier in the game.
Wormwood Scrubs or Broadmoor. Your choice, Jolson.
Unfortunately, at some point in the action, your partner caught a bullet. Racing him to the hospital, you get your first taste of driving on this side of the law. Police sirens move traffic out of your way. And of course, cops won't be chasing after you. The game does, however, lose much of its momentum in these Carter segments. The emotional intensity of the first half of the game is now replaced with a genre-typical rogue detective gets thrown off the case kind of story. But Carter does get himself into a lot of fun shootouts. And it is a pretty wild and welcome vibe change to go from wreaking havoc as Hammond to cleaning up the streets as Carter. Anyway, after completing another routine raid, this time on a shipping port, a call comes across your radio for shots fired at Hammond's first target, the Republic restaurant. Of course, you're too late to catch Hammond, but you arrive to find smoke billowing out of the restaurant and an army of gangsters pouting into the street. It's a futile fight at first, but as you push your way down the street, more and more first responders arrive to help. Another call comes across your radio. This time, it's for gang violence breaking out in Chinatown. You race over to bring order to the chaos.
Try it. It's hopeless.
Met police. You're under arrest.
Afterwards, the police captain shows up and reprimands you. He orders you off the street and to instead escort Jake Johnson's police transport.
Car, we'll protect the van. You take out the Range Rover.
Once the ambush happens, you chase and take down the distraction car, making you late for the actual ambush. After this failure, the captain officially suspends you from duty. As you leave the station, a fellow officer tips you off that a couple of undercover officers have had their covers blown at a local drug den.
Don't mess with the filth.
Being careful not to blow the place up, you rescue the undercover cops and start piecing together that the criminals may be being fed information from your police captain.
McCall, where are you going with such an act?
You return to the police station and tail the captain's car. It's a boring mission, but it makes narrative sense. You follow him through Johnson's depot and get confirmation that the captain is dirty. Worse, you overhear him ordering a hit on your partner. You speed over to the hospital and rush to your partner's room.
Carter, you visiting Joe?
Shut it! There's a hit on Joe. Cover me.
He informs you that the captain has been killed.
He's bent, and I've got him.
Mate, he's dead. You've got nothing.
You hold off the squad of hitmen. It's a fun level because of how unique the hospital location feels compared to the grungy aesthetic of most of the game's other sequences.
Help! No, don't! Help!
Your partner tips you off to a chop shop that should have all the evidence you need. At the chop shop, you find evidence that finally points you to Johnson's hideout. You sneak into Johnson's hideout, making as many arrests as possible. You overhear Johnson's plan and establish a makeshift partnership with Hammond. You do one more kind of needless stealth mission through Johnson's depot, and then head for the shipyard. Carter's climax plays out similarly to Hammond's, only this time, instead of going downward into the ship, you head up to the bridge to have a confrontation with Jake Johnson. After which, you're given a cutscene that shows you what happens after Hammond leaves the boat. Johnson, realizing he's out of options, has a mental breakdown and triggers the bomb's detonator.
If his finger comes up the button, it blows us all. Land of hope and glory, mother of the free.
You fight your way through the cargo area as the ship crumbles around you.
That's a face, man.
He's gonna kill us all!
Once you escape the cargo area, the game is over. You're given an awesome slow-motion cutscene of Carter diving off the exploding ship, and then that's it. I hope you enjoyed this celebration of the Getaway. As a little bonus for making it to the end, I'll leave you with a glimpse at the rather wild live-action TV campaign they filmed to market this game. If you enjoyed this video, please rate and consider subscribing. And if you're already a subscriber, let me know in the comments what game you think I should cover next. The Getaway, Black Monday perhaps.
Rated M for mature.